Go ahead and call this meeting to order at 6:32 p.m. I'd like to welcome everyone and I'd like to welcome Mr. Livingood, who is now joining us as our interim superintendent for right now. It's nice to have you with us. And at this time, if you all would stand for a moment of silence and pledge allegiance. Now the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do a circle. All right, item number 1 and item number 2, review of the agenda and adoption of the agenda. Any questions, comments, or anybody like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we adopt the agenda as is.
Adoption by Ms., or motion by Ms. Considine.
Would you like to adopt it?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Tobey. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Public comments? All right. Student support services, item number 3. Consider amendment and approval of the part-time adjunct instructor at the Area Technology Center for EMT certification program for $30 per hour, approximately $9,600 with benefits. That was a mouthful.
It has Ms. Parrish's name on it because Scarlett originally presented that, but it was, we had one applicant for that job and we needed to offer $30 an hour to get him to accept that job, and he's driving from Ashland, and I just need that added to the pay schedule to be able to pay that position if he is going to take that job. And that's on our supplemental pay schedule. It's added at the bottom of what was given to you.
And the pay for that's already been adopted and approved?
Yes.
Just the hourly rate's not been changed?
Yes, correct.
The hourly rate was $25 originally.
Yes, for the 8,700, and at 30 it would be the 9,600.
Superintendent's recommendation.
I make approval, I recommend approval.
Any questions?
Make a motion to approve item 3 as written.
Motion by Mr. Tobey.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Richardson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Discussion and approval of athletic director stipends. This has my name by it, but I was in the bathroom when this was removed, so, Bill, I think we're running the meeting when this all happened.
Well, I'll just remind the board that we tabled that position to have further discussions, and we've been unable to have discussions regarding that position. The dead period, which ends this Friday, I believe it's this Friday, we really require, or will need, a athletic directors next week to get things going, scheduling and et cetera for the sports. So I think we can't really make any changes right now. It would interrupt and it would be it would interrupt the schedule, it would interrupt the seasons. So I think any changes to that athletic director position may be something the board may want to discuss later on this year for the following year.
Because originally we talked about maybe making that instead of a stipend, a salary position, correct?
Yes.
Getting a
Full-time, right.
But adding responsibilities to that position as well as like a athletic director and event coordinator, just because of, or whatever you want to name it, for the facilities that we now have, and maybe even working with the chamber and bringing in, whatever, we may want to bring into the community with now the platform we have for the football field, and the in the gymnasium and everything that we have. I thought it'd be something that we may want to discuss and even talk to leadership downtown, before next year and see what they thought as well, working hand in hand with them.
Is this something that would have to wait until next year, or could we just kind of manage with the existing roles and then when a permanent superintendent's found, address it then?
Yeah, I think it's what, that's, because we need to have these positions in place.
But we need the AD position filled, right? I mean, we don't,
I don't think we can function as athletic teams without.
right,
that.
but we don't, since Mr. King took over as principal, we've got that position to fill, right?
I would think, I don't know what Mr., yeah, I mean, I would think, Mr. King would hire that position.
Do you hire that position? You do not.
The athletic director?
No way in.
No, not the district. Not, it's
No,
not.
no,
Just to take care
High
of-
school position.
And I didn't see you here, so I apologize. Can someone tell me the difference in the roles and responsibilities between the district-wide and the high school athletic director?
I did bring both job descriptions if you'd like to see them. I kind of scribbled on them. But to me, the only major difference I could see in them, because Scarlett told me to pull Mr. Howard's old one and Mr. King's old one, and the only difference I could see was where it talked about what roles they could and couldn't serve.
Could you break that down for the rest of us?
It literally just said, one of them says that you can be a full-time teacher and serve as athletic director, and the other one says you cannot.
So Campbell's can be a full-time teacher and serve, and GRC is not.
Right. That's what
Sure.
that's the job
Well,
description.
Or,
No.
I mean, it cannot be a full-time teacher and serve, is it the way?
The direct, of the whole.
Of the whole.
Yeah. The GRC independently and Campbell independently could be full-time teachers.
But there's 3 athletic director positions. There's Campbell,
Can't be a
there's
head
GRC, and district.
No.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes,
Jamie
Jamie
was district.
district-wide for 10,000,
Yeah.
which is what Mr. King used to serve. We had a GRC, and then we had an RBC.
Which is what Ms.
Total
Hoffman,
together is $25,000.
right.
But that one job description is just for one full-time AD. That's how I read it.
Because you used to have Ryan Nolan used to be the full-time
Right.
athletic director for
And
the
that's-
he was for the entire district and he handled everything. He handled
Middle.
RDC.
It was
high
Fort
school.
Middle
Yeah.
and Concrete
Right,
at
at
the
the
time.
time.
Yeah, 2 middle schools and the high school.
So I'm still not hearing the difference between a district-wide AD and a GRC AD.
The district-wide AD,
Would
you said
eliminate
can't be a
the
full-time
need.
teacher.
The district-wide AD would eliminate the need for a GRC AD, right?
But there is an existing district-wide AD.
Yeah.
And there's an existing GRC AD.
Right.
That we're paying $10,000 each to. And I want to, like to know the differences and responsibilities.
I follow
of
you.
the two.
So, Mr. King, did you oversee the GRC AD and the Campbell AD, and they reported to you?
Yes.
So that would
And
be
then there's
how-
2 assistant ADs.
No.
Well, in the stipends there is 7,500 for GRC, AD, and then, that's,
That was
10,000 was
last
split.
year, what I saw
We
today.
just combined them into the full 10,000.
Yes.
To be split
And then-
out, that's
oh,
the
okay.
GRC level.
So there's not going to be any assistant ADs this year?
There could be,
Yeah, I think there could be, if I wanted one, it could be, the 10,000 could be split to 75 and 25 or something.
And that's at your discretion?
It always
Is that-
has been.
Okay.
Well,
So,
that's what has always been allowed.
okay.
yeah.
Well, regardless, I don't know, in my opinion, I don't think we can make any changes right now. We have to go forward with what's been presented, and any changes, I think, would have to be next year.
And then if you wanted to, maybe you asked a question earlier, can you hire one when you get a permanent superintendent or whatever? You could, but it would probably, and Alicia can answer this, there would have to be a budget modification because we're taking them out of stipends. If you put them into salary, you've also got benefits.
You've doubled the cost.
Right.
So you add 40% at least,
Yeah.
or 50%.
I think you wouldn't entertain a full-time AD until maybe March or April of next year. And you would have a time to develop a job description and responsibilities.
Oh, yeah, because you're starting from scratch.
I mean, I'm sure we had one
Yeah, when Ryan
previously.
was here, there was a district-wide AD's position. That was a
Yes.
full-time position that operated out of central office.
When he left, that moved to a stipend.
Right.
Yes,
I think the responsibilities were the same, but
right.
it went to a stipend of 10,000.
I think Mr. Talby's recommendation is sound in that for this year, you need to approve the already established stipend positions. I think the board needs to really think through hiring additional people between now and the next 3 or 4 years. I think you have to take a look at the big picture in that you have a very robust staffing formula. And we would have already been in a little bit of a crunch had it not been for some ESSER funds that came in. And so that might be a position, if you add this year, in 2 years, you're going to be having pink slip somebody. Plus, you almost double the cost when you start hiring full-time people. And I understand the rationale, but you have to think about, you have to non-renew somebody in a couple of years and probably start tightening our belt a little bit and looking at other staffing situations. So think ahead about that. But for tonight, immediately, I agree with Mr. Talby's understanding that we need to approve these positions, get them hired so these people get to work for the kids.
So I'll make a motion to,
So, okay.
go ahead, are you?
No, I just, on the documents that I printed out, I'm trying to think where I see, okay, there it is. Okay, just want to make sure it's on the document. I see it now. It's on the Clark, GRC, and Kimball for $25,000.
10, 10, and 5, right?
No hidden costs.
No. I'll make a motion to approve athletic director stipends. for
Okay.
this year.
Who's in these positions right now? So
No
who-
one.
No one?
They're peak slipped,
Okay,
so there will be nobody.
that's fine. I just
So not
wasn't-
even the high school?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Is holding those positions right now. And we can't hire them until there's a salary
Got ya.
Okay,
or stipend.
Okay.
sorry.
So, restate your
I
motion.
cut you off.
Please.
I'll make a motion to approve the athletic director stipends for this year.
Motion by Mr. Tobey,
I second.
second by Ms. Considine. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, item number 5, discussion, clarification, and approval of current classified salary tables. I'm gonna turn this over to you, because you've kind of got a better handle on it this week than.
We'll see, Alicia, if you want to come on up here, have a seat close to me. I'll
It's kind of
scoot over
passed
a
it
little
on
bit.
down.
This actually has multiple facets that we can discuss. I was reading your all string of emails. It took me a little while to learn how to do this Gmail, so sorry. But then I kind of got in on the tail. We got kind of on a timeline, and I read your concern, and then I read some of the responses. So we want to clarify that, put that to rest tonight, and I want to share my opinion about that and why I think that way. We need to, within this discussion, probably make a decision tonight, which we can because of the wording of the item, that we have a salary schedule for classified individuals. Best practices from about everybody is that if you have a classified position that requires a college degree, and we have 3 of those positions that you check mark for me, and then Ms. Richardson came by, so I didn't get the check mark thing that she made for me. But best practices, especially at the TRS, is that if we require a college degree, to refer to our rank schedule we have for teachers. Now, for classified people, that is, we just have a job and this is what you pay. But in the teaching world, we have a rank schedule. For example, we start with rank 4, but we start with rank 3. Rank 4 is a college degree but not teaching certificate, so you get emergency pay for that. And then a rank 3 is a teacher that comes out with a bachelor's degree, 4 years unless you're like me and you cram that in 5 years to get a bachelor's degree. And then a master's degree is a rank 2, and then 30 hours above your master's is a rank 1. And so districts across the state reimburse teachers as per their rank schedule. And then we also pay for experience. So based on the level of education a teacher has and their years of experience, that's what our certified schedule pays. More in the classified world, if you do this job, this is what this pay is, and it's mostly hourly rate. But since we have 3 positions that require a college degree, our best practice is to look more at the certified rank schedule. And so one of the things that Alicia has worked on is differentiate those out. And then her recommendation, and I don't want to put any words in your mouth, that I concur with is for those 3 positions that we have on the classified schedule that do require a college degree for us to refer to our rank system here in the payment for that. And I think it would affect 3.
Well, it's 3 director positions.
3 director
but
positions.
it's 10 positions total that require, in our district, that we require a 4-year. I didn't get to finish check marking it all off in front of you. I'm sorry.
That's your fault.
We got interrupted to go do a meeting. We didn't get to finish our
I'm
conversation.
kidding.
But it's 10 positions or 10 pay scales that coincide with positions that require 4-year degrees.
So there's 10 classified positions currently, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
What is the financial impact of those 10 to the district?
So the financial impact to those, and this is on, I have the total impact, but it's $202,000 for Fund 2. Some of them are grant funded, such as our FRC folks. They're one of the ones that require a 4-year degree. So Fund 2 and Fund 1, and then also Fund 51. So we're affecting 3 different funds with those positions for a total of a little over $200,000 with benefits. That's with the benefit total. So at this point, same concept, if I may, that we talked about prior of no one would lose money, but if it's a gain, they would get the gain. That's what is being calculated, and that affects 11 people currently on that table. So you'll have some who will stay on the table because it's more beneficial the way that table was built compared to the actual qualifications for the ranking system.
So some would stay on the classified table because they would lose money if
They would make more because of their years of experience.
Yes, that's okay.
So like when they get further down in the years of experience, even though you might have more education, it doesn't equal out.
Right.
So experience plus education is
Okay.
what tips the scale.
So if those, if a position becomes available, that if someone stays on that table, the new position would carry over to the certified table?
Correct, to the new version, yes.
So I know we've taken a look at this, at different points, and it seems like, in my mind, that the whole table probably needs to be reconstructed, because I hate the fact that what takes care of one person or one group of people doesn't take care of other groups of people that have waited so patiently to be taken care of. So I'm just wondering if this is not something that we try to do before we, so that it's fair across the board, instead of doing bits and pieces like we have, and it causing turmoil. That we could just take, we could take a long look at it and really address it, because I think it's been, brought before us several times, and it just seems like we fix just enough, and then it becomes another issue.
So can I clarify what, I want to make sure I understand what you're saying too. So there's 2 tables. There's the certified salaries schedule, that ranks everyone. And then there's the additional certified additional schedule that I'm confused on, that totally needs to be reworked, that I think I totally agree with.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, we're really talking about that schedule, right? We're not
No,
talking about the
we're just talking
additional
about
salary
classified.
schedule, we're just talking about the,
The
Classified.
classified
Yeah.
salary of the people who require.
They
'cause there
require
are-
degree, they have to require degrees, so you got classified that don't have degrees.
Yes.
These are just the 10 positions, 11 individuals who are classified who require degrees.
And I'm not saying that it's just one table that needs to be looked at. I mean, you know, we've got teachers that, you know, that I feel, you know, and that need to be taken care of. I just think that if we could really take a long look at it and it not be something that we, you know, do in 20 minutes.
I don't disagree. I kind of felt like the last time we adjusted the pay scales and did some stuff, it was kind of thrown at us, and I feel like we could benefit from a work session, an in-depth work session, and maybe just address it all at the same time instead of trying to piece by piece it, because I think we're setting ourselves up for some harsh criticism and some feelings and things like that.
And it would be nice to see, okay, where do we fall with districts our size, you know, and how we compete, because we want to be able to keep people in our district. And I know we lose a lot to Fayette County. That's really hard to compete with because they are able to offer so much money. But if we could be a good workplace and have incentives like Ms. Considine talked about, you know, last month or week, whenever, and keeping, you know, benefits to keep people. And if we could take a look at these tables and let people in the district know that we're wanting to do the right thing for everybody. In a work session, we could lay it out, we could say, okay, here's the table, here's what you have to have, here's, you know, what comes with it, here's the details of that pay schedule.
I personally think, I mean, we could beat our heads on this as a board, but I believe it's gonna take a lot more than a few work sessions. I think it's gonna need someone to come in here and overhaul the whole thing, put a recommendation together, or a couple
I
of different
agree,
recommendations.
yes.
I mean,
Yes,
because
it's beyond my, yes,
beyond-
right. We would have to
yeah.
look to that side of the table.
But would we want our,
Those two.
would we want our superintendent, whomever assumes that role, and I know you're very much our superintendent right now, no matter, you know, what goes before that or whatever, but would we not want someone who's gonna be here long-term to maybe help decide that? And kind of work through that, because they're gonna be dealing with the effects of the, you know, however it's structured or however it changes when it comes to the budget and the potential deficit and those type things, and retention is an issue, and we do want to keep quality staff, and we do have a lot of competition, but I would think that maybe a new superintendent would like to handle that.
But in the same sense, we don't know how long it's gonna be before we have a new superintendent either.
Well, you're right there.
Well, this isn't, I don't think overall, I mean, this isn't something that can be resolved within, you know, a few months. I think it's gonna take a while to put together some recommendations.
Do you have
Unless y'all
thoughts?
can-
Do you, I mean, is that something, have you worked on tables like this before that?
Yeah, I think, you know, you keep doing bits and pieces, you know, you should do a lot of revisions. I've looked at other district salary tables, and ours is not completely out of line. I mean, the certified schedule is pretty straightforward. The level of college that you have and the numbers of years you've been in the district. So that's the certified. The classified salary schedule is by job. All the janitors get this, and then the bus drivers get this, the aides, the instructional assistants, they get this. And then the responsibilities grow, and so as the responsibilities grow for the classified side, we try and recruit the better people for that. And then it has grown to the point where, especially in larger districts like this, you have classified positions that are given lots of responsibility. When in actuality, the only thing that differentiates a classified from a certified is a teaching certificate. So they would have had a lot of college experience, and they would have had the education which is required for some of our jobs. In a smaller district, they don't face this as much where you have classified people that have a lot of requirements. It's condensed into other jobs. And so this is a little bit larger district, and so you do have a few positions where they have lots of responsibility and they require a college degree, and so that's one fix of your salary problem. So you bring that in line. And then my recommendation, you start chipping it away at the main, like if you gave me the top 3 main concerns about what part of the salary schedule, then we start chipping away at that. And each time I've been through this process, it has never been, here's our brand new comprehensive way to do things, because there can't be much changes till you're certified.
right.
There's not gonna be anything that's drastic. Certified pay scale, what you wanna do is look and see if the hourly rate that we pay for an instructional assistant is pretty close to Madison County and Fayette County and Montgomery County, so that we retain good people. Bus drivers, same thing. Are we paying a competitive rate? And so it's not the schedule that you have that becomes the issue. It is the hourly rate that we're paying for those positions, are they comparable with other districts so that we retain and keep the best workers? So that is the hourly rate that we've decided upon, not as much the salary schedule. And so you begin looking at those jobs where we have high turnover or where there's a critical need, and start chipping away at revising and improving that hourly rate for that position. And so to think that there's going to be this comprehensive magic document, the best thing we can do at a work session is for me to help you understand how to read our salary schedule. And this is the one that's fairly complicated. Our classified schedule, here's this job and here's this hourly rate. What makes this salary schedule really overwhelming for a new board member especially is we start adding all the stipends to other jobs that are here. Academic team coach, and they add that. That's a separate schedule, the stipends that we do for extra duties. Now that's another thing, so you're looking at it in pieces. And so, one thing that you want to do is make sure you understand the certified schedule. The second thing you want to do is you can look at all of the extra duties that we pay in stipends for all the extracurricular jobs. That's added on usually to teacher or to some of the classified people. That's another piece of your salary table. And then the hourly rate that you approve for classified people by job. So it's really 3 pieces. So just understanding what we presently have would be a first step in the board understanding what type of revisions they want to make, starting with the most critical first. Fix that and just keep moving through it. And as you do that work of making those revisions, each time you do that, you understand the salary table just a little bit more. And that way you can talk to people in the community that may have, because they'll bring a valid complaint or a valid concern. And what you need to do is understand the nature of what they're talking about. And then we have to, as the board, take the personality out of it, or the persons, or the people, and then look at what does our budget allow. 80% of our budget's in personnel, and that's pretty standard. So you take a look at what we can afford to do to keep the best people in those jobs. Now, this county is different than other counties in that we're unique to competing with Fayette County. We're unique in competing with Madison County. Carroll County is unique in that they are competing with Indiana, because Indiana pay scales were just ridiculously higher than Kentucky, so it was, and so in Grant County, we had to compete with Boone County, because as soon as we got our teachers to the K-TIP program, they went to Boone County and made $18,000 more, but we had limited resources. The resources aren't quite as limited here, but we just have to determine where we have one pie. We can't add to that pie, but we just are dividing in that pie. And then you just have to answer the difficult questions in the community about how you're budgeting things and meet the critical needs. But you can't be all things to all people. It's just, we have limited resources. And you have to recognize that how we staff the schools is very robust and good. Why is that good? Because we're putting our resources in the building, that really deal with the needs of the kids. And so when you think about a salary schedule, I think you're adding a lot of, like the staffing formula that you have agreed on as a board. That's a part of it, because that's the number of people that you have in the positions. But, you know, we can have a work session where I help you understand what's here, because I think we need to understand it more deeply before you want to change everything. Because I would want you to demonstrate that you really fully understand what's here, and then tell me what really is bad about it. Then we can make revisions and fix it one step at a time. My statement, or the only reason for even discussing that tonight, is that's probably a step in the direction you want to go in.
Sure,
You know, to be competitive on that end, and then we'll start chipping away at it. But that's just a thought. That would be your all's decision you get to make.
So, okay, to help me understand, the positions that the 10 positions that you're talking about are currently on table 4. Correct. Okay. And so, for some of those positions, they will continue to remain on table 4, but others will move over to
Table 1,
table 1. Okay.
if it is beneficial to.
If it's
the-
beneficial to them. Okay.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
Does that include, say, diesel mechanics that have to have certification to be a state bus driver inspector? Or does it-
That's not part of this motion. That's not part of this revision. But I anticipate that being part of another decision that we have to make, because this has to do with the teaching rank, or the bachelor's degree ranking schedule. I think that the certification piece is an area that needs to be addressed as well. But that's not part of this motion.
I understand you say you're not.
I understand.
So it's a 4-year degree
The
in
job
order to be
descriptions.
on.
Yes.
In order to enter the world of the ranking.
The ranking,
certified.
yes, the ranking.
Yes.
Gotcha. Wonder why they remained on classified. I'm just curious.
Depends on how many years you've been there. There's a break-even year, and then there's a year that you cross over.
It's always been.
That old adage, it's
That
always
old
been done
It's
this
always
way,
been
but,
done that way.
not that that's the right answer.
It's always been done that way.
That's what the answer is.
That's always what the answer is.
I was curious.
Yeah.
Why?
I would like to table that. That's just my personal wish that maybe we could table it and kind of just, he just spoke up and asked about, you know, his people. I just think we're asking, while it would help a lot of people and it would, you know, these 11 people that would affect and benefit, I think that we're leaving a ton of people out and we need to probably look a little more in depth. Could we get a work session together fairly soon so that we can address while we're, you know, while
Okay, but
it's...
here goes the age-old thing. If you do a work session, you cannot make any motions to fix it.
Well, that's okay, we can carry that over to the
regular
meeting.
Okay.
Because I think it's good to have conversation on something without,
I just want to make sure everybody
Yeah.
understands there
Yeah.
will not be any motions made that.
no,
night.
that's fine, that's totally fine.
So my take is on this, if there is a,
Right. So you could add it before there.
Yes.
Sherry wanted it soon. You got a special meeting next week, so you could
Add it to the,
before or after.
so my take is on this, we have people in this district that have diplomas, master's degrees, doctorates. They need to be paid for those achievements. I think it's important.
sure it
And
is, that's why
and-
you did
and-
them.
And again, why are they not getting paid? Why would they get paid more in the classroom than they would in other positions?
Mm-hmm.
Because at that point, they would go over to the certified table. Please tell me if I'm incorrect.
That's
Okay.
correct.
So I don't know what tabling this is going to do, or why we would table it, knowing that, or to me, it's kind of cut and dry. They got their diploma, they got their master's, they got their doctorates, whatever. They need to be paid appropriately for those, and switching them to the other schedule is the only way they can do that, then that's what we need to do. As far as other certificates, I know there's other, besides diesel mechanics, I know there's other positions in this district that has to have certificates outside of degrees and masters and things of that nature. I think we'll have to take all that consideration, you know, in work session, or, you know, like you said, Mr. Livingood, kind of chipping away at, right? I don't know why we wouldn't move forward on these positions, knowing that these
Well, what
positions
happens
require-
is that gets approved and then the work session never comes to address the other positions.
What other positions?
Whatever they
We
are.
need to identify what those positions are. I mean, what are we talking about? We're talking about these positions. What positions do you want to address?
Any other ones.
Oh, she wants to do an overhaul of everything.
Well, I mean, I want Mr. Livingood to be there to break it down for us and help us understand. And that way we can answer that question. We'll be more informed.
We have three options right now. One, you can approve this, we still have the work session to continue moving with this. That's option number one. Option number two, you can decide that you want to table this until after the work session. And option number three, have neither. But, you know, you can still keep moving and still have the work session to continue working on that, which I'm available to you whenever you schedule the work session. That's not a problem. And we can start looking at it piece by piece. So that's just a decision that the board has to make on, we're not looking at all of our classified salary issues right now, but we're looking at some of the ones that, you know, that we know we need to look at. So you can make a decision and just start moving in that direction, or that's up to your discretion.
I've said for years that we need to look at all of this and get into, I agree with the work session on that. Now, what we do with these positions tonight, that's fine, but we have got to start looking at this stuff.
Oh, I agree with the work session, but I don't know doing a work session is going to change anything on these positions.
Out of the 10, how many will move to certified and how many will stay on classified? Because I'm sure you have that.
Out of the 10, 11 will move to certified.
Okay.
And there's about that many, I don't have that number in front of me, I just had a number that was moving, but there's about that many staying as well.
Okay.
It's about split, honestly.
Is the 202, is it sustainable?
Yes, I mean, it's not, most of it's grant, so
Okay.
it's within the grant funding,
Any idea how much most of it is?
202 total, you've got, let me just, I should have broken this down by fund, I apologize.
So Fund 51, is that food service?
Yes.
And I'm sorry, what were the other funds? Fund 1?
Fund 1 and Fund 2.
And Fund 2.
So on Fund 1, you're talking about an additional $22,000.
Okay.
That's sustainable in our general fund.
Okay.
Fund 51 is sustainable with what they have
Gotcha.
available. And then the rest is grant funded. Now, it will take some shuffling of how they're used to planning their funds, because now there's going to be some more of the funds dedicated to salary versus
Right.
spending
Versus,
on other items. But it's not that it's not a doable option.
Would that be,
It's mainly,
FRCs?
it's mainly the FRC grant.
so it could be that is the majority of the grant?
Yes. So that is, because that is a huge change.
Sure.
On them, but we do require a four-year degree for that
I remember
job.
when we changed that.
Yes. I will tell you, there's a lot of districts who do not.
Yes.
And they're still on the classified side.
Gotcha.
We changed it to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
And why? Do you remember?
That was before my time, so I'm not
It's
sure
been a
that
while. I could
conversation.
probably go back in my head. I'm trying to remember why. I think because we wanted a commitment of having that degree and that working with that grant. We had some that were college degrees and some that were not. And so we felt like it's always better to set the bar a little higher. So I was sitting out there when it happened, so it was changed to require a four-year degree. And we had some that were grandfathered in. And
Yes.
then once they retired, they were replaced with someone that has a four-year degree. Right, Arlene?
recommendation, nor dare I ask.
My recommendation is that you approve this item for the rationale that I explained. It helps us start chipping away at some of the revisions that are long-term. And then we do schedule a work session for us to, primarily, I really need to hear your major concerns. I need to hear you tell me what is the major concern so that I don't want to just give information to you. We'll help you interpret that, but I need to really get my head around what your major concerns are about the existing salary table so that we can begin working on making the improvements that align with your concerns. Because right now, I'm not clear, and then you all can bring that into clarity, and then I can target my efforts for that.
And maybe because of the discussion that we've had tonight, because we've always done it that way, that may be a good reason of why we need to have a work session. Is that the best way, or were there other options, but we didn't know?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, I don't know.
And I highly respect your desire to want to know.
Yeah.
I applaud that, so I'm always for that.
Given what Brenda just said, that my desire is to maybe move number 5 to the special called meeting at the end of that agenda next week, have a work session before it, and tackle it then. So, not that I don't think that people should be paid for their level of education or what they've done. I totally am all for that, but I just would like to have a work session and address it at the end, tack it on to the end of the next meeting if that is possible.
So that doesn't interfere with any, like, in between pay periods or anything like that? When does, if we approved it, when would that go?
Our first pay is the 15th.
Yeah, it's
For
close.
for folks on this list. Not everyone on the list, but majority of these
So on the
folks will get their
15th?
first paycheck on the 15th.
Next Thursday.
Yeah, so if we tackled it Monday, it would be,
Does that give you enough time if we cut?
No. Not for payroll.
So it really
Not for
does.
payroll. No, we're really pushing it tonight.
Yeah, tonight's honestly pushing it for my payroll that are in the system. So I mean, we're in the middle of starting that off.
I'm in favor of approving it, so, tonight, for these positions.
So can we, can we be committed to a work session
I think
before?
we schedule that first, to
Yes.
make you at ease, and I really do, I'm
Thank you.
serious.
Thank you. I
think
appreciate that.
Because Sherry's work sessions always get pushed to the side, she's right. So I think we schedule Sherry's work session, not Sherry's, but ours. Not just Sherry's, but, and we all come to Sherry's work session, not just Sherry. So let's do that first.
Okay.
What day is everybody available?
So, well, let's just do it can we do it Monday
We
before
can.
the meeting?
If that's what Sherry wants.
Sherry would like that.
Can't be there.
Can you can't?
No, because we have a special meeting for the superintendent, search meeting. Monday before the board meeting.
How many items do you have on the agenda?
It's closed session, so it's just,
No, that's the special meeting with
Yeah.
Kathy Fields on the
talking about
12th.
the other,
The
the 21st.
superintendent search committee.
When each said next week.
Bill rained on Sherry's parade.
He did. It was gonna be so easy.
So the superintendent,
I'm killing the vacation.
Well, that's why we're trying to do it all in one day.
So the superintendent, so next week.
We could do it after.
It's the
Closed
12th.
session, it's closed session only.
Right, as of now. But we could have a work session prior.
Or after.
Or
Not
after.
prior, because he can't be here prior.
I don't,
Well, she just said, I don't need to be here.
She
No, I
didn't
I think
mean
you
it.
should be here, but I mean,
I mean, I don't think, based upon the agenda set forth today in our committee meeting.
I don't know if we can do it afterwards, after the closed session. The only way you would be able to do that would maybe add it before, but, I mean, an hour's not gonna be long enough. I mean,
Why
if
can't
you're
we do that
really
afterwards?
wanting to delve into you know.
You all set the meeting time and I'll be there. So. Just pick a day and pick a time.
Okay,
You can
what's
set kind of
the,
tables, Jerry.
what's the next day? Does
You're
anybody have?
off all next week, so the following week?
Yeah, but you're not gonna make the pay, I mean,
No,
yeah,
but-
we were
right,
tabling on
no.
this.
Well, I would prefer to wait until we've had the work session, but I'm not gonna be like a dream killer or anything. But that is my wish,
Yeah, this is.
personally.
She said dream killer, yes.
She has
Sherry
very
said she'll
colorful
get her work
vocabulary.
session Scheduled. Sherry wants her work session scheduled.
Well, I'm out the 14th through the 19th.
What y'all doing this week?
Do you really want to?
No, I mean, like,
Yeah.
does anyone have any, like, available time?
Yeah.
What's your available time? I could do Thursday night.
Thursday.
I can do Thursday.
I can do that. And so, would that give you time to prepare for explanation for us?
What are we explaining?
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
question.
I mean,
I need first for you all to email me some of the concerns that you have and what's confusing the individual. This is what confuses me about this salary. This is what problem that I have. But basically, we're just gonna go through each position, see if we have time to look at that. And look at each, you internalize that a little bit. Look at each of the classified, and then find out, assign some of the jobs that is the biggest concern. So, basically, like I said, you are going to have to talk to me a little bit.
Okay.
And share, and I can get enough information together that probably Alicia won't even have to be there, because I'll value her time after that as well. So,
Let me ask a question before we vote on this.